Yo, what's good? So essentially this video is about embracing the unknown. How do you embrace the unknown?
Yeah, I'm inspired.
Well, my name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. So the first thing I want to tell you is to get back into your presence. Okay? Now, as I'm walking down the street, different things can happen. There could be a car that passes by. There could be someone that stops me and says, oh, you can't record, you can't do that. There could be so many things, but I'm open to the experience. You see what I'm saying? You got to be open towards the experience of life and get comfortable with just being as you are in your presence. Get comfortable with the milliseconds is what I would say. It's like each and every millisecond of your life. You got to get comfortable with each and every millisecond of your life, right? And once you get comfortable with that, it just keeps stacking. Or you start creating an invisible momentum. Okay? This invisible momentum takes you so far because, first and foremost, you don't even know what is going on when you're trying to, maintain this momentum or try to get and build upon it, right? So this unknown nature of like what's going to happen, and this feeling of anxiety. Think of it almost like a boat going throughout the ocean, and there's going to be some turbulence sometimes, right? This feeling of turbulence of like, hey, in the water, at times I notice that there's this thing happening where there's this buoyancy that's being created, but then again, within that buoyancy, there is a feeling of freedom where you've got to get to the other side of fear, which is freedom. And really start to understand that there are many, many different levels and different ways that you can incorporate this idea. And it doesn't have to be really set in stone, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh man, like this is exactly how I want to plan this out and this is exactly how it's going to go. Because then you are open to experience, like I said at the beginning of this video, right? Then you aren't embracing like what's happening, right? Like right now I'm in nature in this moment. Of course, I'm close to nature, right? So again, I'm taking the energy, the vibration of the nature, the trees, the human beings that live here, right? In this part of this environment in Salt Lake. So as I start to engage more with what my body's doing, with what my mind is doing, what is trying to have me say next, I start to find my rhythm again. I start to find my flow state again, because the thing about the unknown is we can't predict it. We've got to get away from predictive control into the process control. What is process control? Process control is something that you enjoy doing. Okay, so there could be a task right now that you just don't enjoy doing, right? You could be doing something right now, maybe you're stuck at home and you're like, oh man, I gotta do homework. Well, just you framing it as homework, it already sets up a pattern in your mind, right? Like, what do we mostly feel like when we're doing homework, right? It's like we're being forced to do some kind of assignment that we don't want to do, right? So in a sense, when you can frame it as a challenge, when you can frame it as, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to read 2 pages today. And if I can't do that, I'm going to take a cold shower. I'm going to give my friend $5. I'm going to create a leverage for myself. So I had a post this morning, which was very interesting. It said, don't make your urgency into an emergency, okay? Now, I think this is a very, very powerful and crucial element of embracing the unknown. Because once you understand the mechanism of this thing, it's going to change your way of being this, okay? Try this activity out with me right now. So right now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start to embody the feelings of nervousness and fear in my body right now as I'm walking, and just start to notice how that's going to shift my beingness. And I want you to do this with me as well. Right now, feel where you feel tension, nervousness, maybe fear within your body right now. And start to create almost like a hologram of that feeling, okay? Start to create a hologram of that feeling. So start to create a symbol of what that looks like if it was a hologram. Starting now. Okay, so my breathing just got heavier and more shallow. My posture is being affected. I feel like if I start to speak right now, I'm going to be a lot more tongue-tied. I feel a stiffness, like a stiffness in my body. So start to create the hologram of that. And that feeling of the unknown. I don't know. It's actually so freeing and liberating to say, I don't know, right? If you're like, I don't know. And you honestly own that, because a lot of people feel like we should know. And should is like this societal construct thing where we're like, man, I should be a very specific way, right? Rather than actually being a specific way. So if you just say, I don't know, that's such a liberating and almost like such a freeing experience when you try that out. So now let's try a different way. Let's try to now do the opposite of what we said that we did, right? So what would be the opposite of fear? This feeling of freedom, this feeling of courage, which is, again, a Stoic principle, right, as I mentioned. So once you get into this feeling of courage, how does that make you feel? Let me now tap into it right now. Okay, so immediately you notice my posture change. I feel a lot more expansive. And what it makes me feel like is that it makes me feel like want to engage. It makes me feel like wanting to engage with the planet now. It's a very strange feeling, right? It's like now I'm not in my self-consciousness. So basically like I'm in my other consciousness, right? So I'm looking around me and what's happening, right? Like right now, I could be with this dog and I could just interact and give him, that much of just like being, here I am, what's happening, that feeling of freedom that is emanating. So now I'm creating a second hologram on top of the original hologram. You see what I'm saying? So this imprint that you're creating right now, this confidence, this aura of courage or engagement with the world, notice what's happening right now. You are not in this shell of like, ooh, I wonder if I'm doing this okay. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's like, one is like, I don't know, and that's a problem. The other one is, I don't know, and I love that. You see the difference now? That's how you embrace the unknown. It's like, I don't know, and man, I love that. That's an adventure. All right, that's the quest in the video game. It's the time to power up, baby. Let's go. Let's level up in this matrix. Let me take power over this simulation now. Since this is all illusion, since this all figments of our mind, right? These roads are made by people, or I'm sure these trees are planted by people. I'm sure these buildings are made by people, but all started up here. So let's control the up here so we can get the out there, right? So ultimately, man, this is so powerful. What I'm sharing here right now is creating an empowering hologram and a sense perception that is going to override the fear-based hologram that you created before. Now I notice myself like just a lot more open, right? And a lot more willing. There's a level of willingness, which is higher up in the scale of consciousness than fear, or like a sense of, a threat or danger or whatever, right? Like we can approach an environment and have immediately a sense of fear. Like if I approach that dog with fear, that dog's gonna sniff out that fear and start barking, right? There's no doubt. But if instead I embrace what's happening, I embrace the unknown, I'm like, hey, I'm open to engaging with what is happening right now, it starts to change the way of beingness. And you'll notice even nature, something as simple as a little bird, right, will start interacting with you differently. It's wild. It's actually wild. It's like living in two different worlds, right? That's what it's like. And so this is what I like to do is, first of all, give yourself a reference of that old version, which is the fearful version of, I don't know, it's a problem, I have to fix it, there's something wrong with me, I have to micromanage it, oh no. So one of, hey, I don't know, what can I learn from this, you know? Where can I take this further? Like right now it's raining, I could let this bother me, or I can enjoy the fact that at the end of my video, it's raining, and it's like a Bollywood movie, you know what I mean? So that's the thing, right? That is really the thing that you want to ask yourself is, how can you optimize, how can you enjoy the fact that, I'm getting a little bit of an extra shower right now, but I'm getting more in tune with like this aspect of nature, which is water, which is falling from the sky. So I guess I'm gonna end this video right now because it's the nature telling me. And again, in all my powerful videos, you guys have noticed this, right? There is this aspect of, man, there's always like rain or thunder in the background. So there is that powerful aspect to this thing. So I want to again remind you this as I step indoors. And yeah, I guess have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's kill it today.